Well, again, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm really excited to get to share with you what I do in New Zealand and what the Lord has done in my life over the last couple years and what He's going to continue to do. Before I kind of jump into everything, I would just like to say thank you very much. I'd like to say a couple thank yous. I'd like to say thank you to South Shores for hosting. This is such a beautiful campus. It's such a beautiful room. I have a really good view. You guys don't have the best view because you're looking at me, but I get to look out at the ocean, and I have an even better view because I get to look at all of you guys. So I definitely win this one, but it's a great campus. I'm really thankful that I've gotten to use their space, and they've been supporting me as a church for the last couple years as well. I'm thankful for each and every one of you and the way that you guys have invested in my life over the years, and I'm excited to get to show you more about what I do. So just kind of what's in store for today, kind of what I want to talk about, what led up to missions, what my work looks like in New Zealand, day in the life, and what this next year looks like. And then I'd love to answer some of your guys' questions as well. So what led up to missions? I'm 25 now, and I grew up in as a pastor's kid, and I'm really thankful for the upbringing I got with my family, with my parents. And I could start all the way back to when I was born, but I think when I was 20 is kind of probably where this story goes, where this story kind of starts. So when I was 20, I found myself in a position that I never really expected. My mom had just passed away after a 10-year fight with cancer, and so there I found myself at 20 after kind of going through this whole journey with my mom. And when you have this hero in the faith, and you see them fight the fight, and as they pass away, there's something that you kind of have to grapple with. Is how do I navigate my faith? How do I navigate? What questions do I ask? And I felt like the best way was basically I just had to make a decision. Is God real, or is He not? Or is He good, or is He not? Or is He really not good? All these sorts of questions that I'm wrestling with in this process. And again, in this one of the things that was really challenging about this was a couple years prior to my mom passing, my dad was arrested, and he is now in prison. And I do have a really good relationship with him, and I'm really thankful for that relationship. But being 20 years old and not really having your parents being able to be involved in your life in a significant way is something that I never expected. I was a sophomore in college, and after a couple different semesters, pretty much every semester of my university, there were different events that happened that made it increasingly hard to continue in university. So I took a step back. I did a business internship in Kansas, and then I went into marketing, and then I found myself with a prestigious position at Starbucks. And I thought, okay, well, I love coffee and I love business, and I'm really thankful that I got to do that. But there was something there, and it's interesting because Starbucks definitely was its own mission field. I was the only Christian there. 19 out of 26 of my 19 coworkers out of 26 of us were LGBTQ+. And so there's a lot of opportunities for me to be outspoken in my faith, as well as try to do my job with excellence. I didn't quite do the barista part of it with excellence, but I definitely did the cashier part of it with excellence. But I found myself in this position, and I knew that I was kind of going farther and farther from the Lord, and I was just like, man, this isn't where I want to be. So when I turned 21, I decided that by the time I turned 22, I'm going to be as close to Jesus as I can be. So I started calling people into my community and asking them, how do I hear Jesus, and how do I obey Him? That was my question. And it took two calls. The second call, it was a missionary with Youth with a Mission. And I called him and I said, how do you hear God's voice, and how do I obey Him? And he said, do a discipleship training school. That's what we teach. It was about a 3-minute phone call. But when he said that, it felt like I just had a whole new life. Like like the Lord, it felt like I was driving at the time, I had Him in my ear, and it felt like I had my best friend in the passenger seat, like hyping me up, like really excited about about this direction in life. And so I quit my job, and I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, and I moved out, and I sold my car, and I went off into a discipleship training school. And so this discipleship training school is a 6-month school. The first phase is 3 months. It's 12 weeks of lectures about various topics about the foundations of the faith. And then the second 3 months is going out into the nations. So my outreach was to Papua New Guinea, which I'll tell you guys more about later, and I'm really excited about that. But I was 21 and I went to Papua New Guinea, and it was funny because I sat on the way there, I sat next to the director of Missions Aviation Fellowship for Papua New Guinea. And he told me stories about getting attacked with machetes and like 3 different times, and all these stories about flying and like really wild stories. And so there I am as a 21-year-old, like, okay, here I am landing in Papua New Guinea. I'm ready to die for the gospel, essentially, was what my framework after hearing all these stories. And to some extent, halfway through some of these stories, I was going, does he know I'm 21? Like, does he, why is he telling me these things? But I was both very encouraged, as well as I had a lot of resolve going into it. And when I was in Papua New Guinea, I felt that there was a lot more to do with Youth with a Mission. And so I had a connection to the YWAM base in New Zealand. I remember being there and hearing the leaders, and they talked about how they were going to pioneer a base in the city, because their base was, their YWAM base was out in the middle of nowhere. And I think for them, they went, okay, well, we've shared the gospel with all the cows and with all the sheep. So what do we do next? And so they moved their base to the middle of the city. And so when I first heard it, I went, oh, that's really exciting. I'm so happy for you. And the Lord went, no, that's actually for you too. And so for the last 3 years, I've been in New Zealand, leading discipleship training schools, and doing lots of different things. But a discipleship training school it's largely young adults that I'm working with and walking with, and we all live in the same community. We all live on the same property, and so you're learning a lot about each other. And I'm walking with these young adults daily and the decisions that they make. And it's interesting when you do that, because you get a lot of opportunities to talk with them about maybe different decisions that you make, that they made, and kind of help them navigate these really hard challenges. Because being a young adult is really, really challenging. You're trying to figure out all these different things, and you're trying to figure out who you are, what your calling is, what you want to do, all these different things. And I consider it an immense privilege that I get to walk alongside young adults in kind of that day-to-day living. And I really don't have all the answers. I think that's one of my favorite parts about my job, is that I don't have to have all the answers, because it's not my job to solve everything for them, but it is my job to bring them closer to the Lord and walk with them through the challenge of, oh, I feel like the Lord is asking me to do this, or all those sorts of things, or all the questions that they have, and kind of walk with them to the best of my ability, as well as being okay, like, I don't really know. Let me go pray about it, or let me ask questions, and maybe learn more, or maybe we can figure this out together. So it's very day-to-day living for those discipleship training schools. So after I came back to New Zealand, this is 2023. I started staffing in July. We did a discipleship training school, and then the next one I led. So I staffed the first one, and then I led the next one, and that was a lot of things to navigate, getting into leadership. And my family, there's a lot of leadership in my family, and a lot of different things, and I'm navigating, what does it look like to be a leader? What does it look like for me to be a leader compared to the leaders that I know and look up to, and those challenges that go into that. And so I've been in New Zealand for the last 3 years, and last year, actually, it goes back to October of 2024. It was while I was leading the discipleship training school that my leaders approached me, and we talked about their hope for a secondary Bible school at the base. And I had done a secondary Bible school in Norway, and I said, hey, because they were talking to someone who was going to start the Bible school there, but they weren't working out, and they're going, hey, this is where we're at with it. And I said, okay, well, why don't I go to Norway, and I learn how to, and I staff it, and I learn how to do a Bible school I get trained so that I can come back here and I can help pioneer it. I wasn't really asking to pioneer it. I wasn't really doing anything to that extent. I was just saying, hey, let me see if I can help in this way. And they said, okay, yeah, it's yours, run with it. And so we went back and we prayed about it, and I felt like, yeah, this is what the Lord is asking. This is what he's calling me to do. And so I went to Norway last year, and I was there, and I learned a lot. I love Norway. I'm really thankful for the Norwegians. They're actually a very patriotic country, which is interesting because in the US, you know, when you're growing up, you think like patriotism. I know that patriotism is about individual countries, but we don't always get to see that from other countries. So when I was in Norway and seeing these Norwegians be so patriotic about Norway, it was really exciting for me to get to see another expression of patriotism that wasn't that wasn't the US, especially since New Zealanders really love New Zealand, but there's not as many of them that are going to be outspoken about them, about it the way that they will be in the US. And so I went to Norway, I learned and I trained there, and then I came back to New Zealand and I started preparing for the Bible school. And we started that Bible school this last January. We had 4 students starting the school, and we had 2 Canadians and 2 Germans. And I'll tell you guys a little bit more about kind of what goes into a Bible school, what that looks like and different things. But it was really, really exciting to get to kind of start this Bible school in a sense that it's been a long time coming. And so when you're wanting to start something and you gotta wait and you gotta prepare and work on it, it was really, really exciting. As well as I really am not able to do all of this on my own. I do have like a very certain set of skills, but then I have a very certain set of not skills that are plenty of gaps. And so I'm thankful for how the Lord has provided a co-leader. She's from the Netherlands. And she did her BCC in Norway, and they contacted her and said, hey, would you like to help pioneer the Bible core course in New Zealand? And so she said yes. So she's been over there, and she will finish out her commitment at the end of the year to help pioneer the Bible core course. So I'm really thankful for the people who have come alongside me and helped fill those gaps and to kind of make the whole thing work and run. A lot of my life is people coming along and helping me continue to be able to do what I can do, because they do such a good job of that, and it allows me to actually step into the fullness of what the Lord has called me to do in that. And so a lot of that is what has led me to kind of led up to all of this, led to today. And so that's the Bible core course. That's what I've done in missions, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. And so what my work looks like in New Zealand now is the Bible core course. And during the school, people read through the whole Bible in those 3 months. They read through all 66 books. One of the things I really love about the Bible core course is we do a Bible reading weekend, and they read 19 hours of the Bible. And during this time, one of the things that I'm really thankful for is, so while they're reading, us staff, we prepare meals and snacks for them, and so they can continue reading, and we give them breaks and we help them kind of digest all that they're learning. But to be able to read through the Torah kind of pretty much in one go, a lot of the students have come out of that weekend. Yes, their brains have been very fried, kind of going, oh my gosh, 19 hours of the Bible, what do I do? But then the other half of it is that they're really thankful that they had the opportunity to read through the Torah and kind of understand the narrative of the Torah and kind of how that leads into the Promised Land. And so that's something that we really try to encourage in the Bible core course, is as they're reading through the Bible, to read it in each book in one go and in one sitting, so that they can get the whole book and understand the whole context of it. Because when we read the Bible chapter by chapter, I think there's a lot of goodness to get from it. But when we read through it chapter by chapter, I think sometimes we can miss out on all sorts of different aspects of actually the whole narrative of the book. So when they read through the Bible, they read each book in one sitting, and so that's part of the Bible core course, is reading through the whole Bible. We teach them how to preach, teach, and lead a small group Bible study. That's what SGBS is. And so part of this is training and equipping. We want to equip them for further study. Some people continue in ministry, some people go back home, but each person is usually they want to know the Bible more, and they want to understand it. That's one of the reasons I did my Bible core course. Is my mom loved the Bible, and I'm so thankful for her influence in my life. But I knew that when I started going to missions, I went, man, I don't know the Bible as well as I'd like, and then I'm going to go teach and disciple people. I better get some more training and equipping so that I can actually do this job well. And I think it's important that when we have missionaries going out into the nations, they know how to study the Bible well. And so we teach them something called the inductive method. Which is where you pray and then you read and then you observe what's in the text. You read it slowly and you observe what's in the text, and then you go into an interpretation you ask these questions of what were the original readers and the original audience, what were they actually thinking about the text? What did these words mean to them? And this helps you, after you've observed, it helps you start to understand the Bible from their perspective, because it wasn't written to us. The Bible wasn't written to us, but it was written for us. And so this is kind of how we navigate the Bible, and this is a part of the study. And so after interpretation, we want to apply it so we understand what it meant to the audience. And then, okay, what is a timeless truth? Something that's true for them and then true for us. And then if it's true for us, then how can we apply it? And so there are strict rules with each thing so that we can maintain authenticity of the Bible and better understand what we're reading. And so after we've applied it to our own life, then we really want to proclaim it. I don't think that theology is complete until it's applied. I think it's really valuable that when we're learning these things, we learn to both apply them and proclaim them, because if it's just for us, then it's our relationship with Jesus is personal, but it's not private, and so it's really valuable for them to go, okay, I've understood this now. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna proclaim the good news of what I've learned through the Bible. So I've gotten through two things. We have a couple things more, but I want to be curious, just because I'm curious if kind of how are you guys doing? What's going on in your guys' heads and your minds, and what are you guys thinking about as I talk about these things? More so just because I want to make sure that as these questions and as these thoughts are happening, I'm able to answer them. Yeah.
So the 19-hour day of reading, what books are they doing in those 19 hours? It must be multiple, right? Or is it one giant one that I don't know? 19 hours.
Yeah. So during the Bible reading weekend, it's 19 hours over 2 days. So it's Friday and Saturday. And then they read through Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Judges, Joshua, Judges, and Ruth. And that chalks up to around 19 hours. Sometimes we, depending on where we are in the structure, we might add Job or we do keep it flexible, but the main point of the weekend is to help them grasp the first 5 books, the narrative of the first 5 books of the Bible. And so after this last one, we went, okay, we really liked that, but we want to keep improving on it. And so after, when we do our next Bible school, we are going to have like learning devices and kind of maps and different things. So when they're reading through Joshua, they're understanding what people groups they're talking about and where they are on the map. So we want to give the students as many tools to actually retain what they're getting, because they are getting so much information. So we're not, in this sense, we're not so much going for depth as we are an overall understanding of the narrative. But as many ways as we can create more opportunities for learning, then we wanna do that. Yeah.
What translation do you use when you're reading through it, and was there a choice that went into that, or something that was established when you joined the program?
Yeah, we used the ESV translation. It was established before I joined, but I've used the ESV for a long time, and I don't think there's any one best translation, but I do think there are some translations that are not good either. And so I Yeah, ESV is helpful because there's also the most translations of in other languages in ESV. And so, like for our German students, we give students Bibles, but one of our German students bought a ESV German and English Bible so that he could understand the text better in his language. So, yeah.
When you do these 19-hour reads, and you have discussion with the group together to talk a little bit about what each one of them sees and what they've read?
Yeah. So after each book they read, they have an assignment asking questions about the text. And we've designed these questions so that they can pull out key points from it and actually think through it and process it. So after each one, they do that assignment, as well as, because we just had 4 students on this last school, they do them in Bible reading groups. And if we had more students, we'd just have more groups. And so it allows them to ask questions of the text because they're reading the Bible out loud to each other and kind of taking turns as they go through. And so that was one of the really fun things about this last school was sometimes they would stop in the middle of a chapter and then they would have like a 10 to 15 minute conversation about a topic and then they would jump back into the text. So we want them to read through the whole book in one go, but we also want to facilitate them learning as much as they can. And so reading in these small groups allows them to pause and ask questions and understand it and get kind of peer-to-peer discipleship in that way.
What kinds of requirements does YWAM have as far as like the infrastructure of the programs that you've seen consistent across Norway, New Zealand, and Hawaii too, I think, right?
Yeah. For the Bible core course, the Youth with a Mission has a branch of it called University of the Nations. So one part of the organization is a discipleship foundation, but then the other half of it is that you can go through University of the Nations and get a degree. And this is an opportunity that some people don't have to get degrees, but they get to do that through the University of the Nations. And so with that come pretty, on some hands, they're very strict on the requirements of what we're doing, and then on other hands, it's very loose. And so the preaching, teaching, and small group Bible study is a part of that curriculum that's core. There are certain books, so we choose the books based off of literature style. So the students need to understand how to study each literary style in the Bible. And so we pick of the 15 plus books, sometimes we'll switch out a book, like whether it's a Pauline letter or different things like that. We'll switch out the book, but largely we have to make sure that at the end of the school we've done our best to maintain. Okay, they've studied every literary style because it's only 3 months. So my biggest hope is that after the school, the students have the ability to go on and do further study and further education and understanding of the text. So there are different requirements throughout it. Those are kind of two requirements for it. There are more in there, but it's the consistency is the inductive method, doing a 6-step process for every literary type, learning how to preach, teach, and do small group Bible study. But then the schools can have different emphasis. And so what we've taken from Norway, their emphasis is a lot on like the different learning styles. And so they want to make sure that each learning style gets to enjoy the Bible and understand it instead of catering to just one learning style. And there's a lot of students who've gone through the program who say like, oh, I didn't get to graduate university, but this was really redeeming for me because it was really helpful for me to actually realize, no, I actually can study, I can learn, I can be successful in an education setting. So there's a lot of different angles of the school that are very have opportunities for ministry in that sense. Yeah, Kendall.
Do you feel like there's a specific skill set that you think the school has like given you, a new set of skills, or something that you were challenged in and grew in?
Yeah, administration. I in my head I really love to organize things, but in my life, that is something that hasn't always been the case. So learning to lead the school has been really helpful because I've learned to be more organized and more disciplined in my day-to-day, as well as using Google Sheets. I really love Google Sheets, and I've started to learn and grow in that skill, and it's been really fun. And so, but really, it's kind of the discipline of the day-to-day, making sure that I get things done, because on this last school there was just 2 of us staff, and so there was a lot of things that she navigated, but there was a lot of things that I needed to make sure that I was keeping track of as well. And so making sure that I was more organized, doing a better job of making sure that I wasn't dropping the ball, or that I was serving the students well. So there was a lot of different kind of things that I was really challenged to make sure that I'm serving the students the best I can by making sure that I'm both on time to things and organized and doing my administrative duties well. So there were definitely some weak challenges, and there were some times when the students were very gracious to me, but I was really thankful for the opportunity to grow more in these abilities. Yeah.
What do you see as your strengths, your strong skills?
Yeah, I did speech and debate for 6 years, and I am really thankful for that background. I guess I did it for 7 because I did it in university as well through Concordia, and so I really like the opportunity to speak. And I don't know if you guys could tell, but I really like the opportunity to speak, and I really like growing that skill of teaching. And so going through and understanding the concepts in the text, and then teaching that to the students is something I'm really thankful that I get to do. I on this last school, I taught 5 different books, and teaching and growing in that is something I'm really excited about. I decided on this next school I'm going to take a step back from teaching so many books and kind of learn more of the skill and get better at the process, because a lot of it I was taking from my Bible Core course and what I learned on how to teach there, and then applying that to teaching the school. And so I've gained experience and I really enjoy that, but I wanted to continue. So I'm going to teach Revelation on this next school, but in doing so we've used some of we would have paid someone to do it online from the Netherlands. So we would have zoomed them in, but I mean, can you imagine learning Revelation on Zoom for 15 hours? That would be really, really challenging. So we decided that we would pay him the same amount we would pay him to teach, but we would pay him to mentor me in how to teach the book. And so I really love getting to do those sorts of things, and I'm really excited to continue to grow in that ability. Yeah. Cool. So I want to talk just a little bit kind of about a day in my life, kind of what that looks like. And so we start off our day with staff meeting. Usually I wake up about an hour before this and I get ready and do my devotions, and then hopefully have my coffee if I can. And then we start our staff meeting, and in the staff meeting we just kind of talk about the logistics of the day, of the week, the different things that we need to work on, delegate different tasks, and pray for the day and for the students. And this is really helpful for us because it is an educational heavy school, as well as making sure that we're walking with the students and discipling them well. And so in this we get to hear about how the students are doing, who have the one-on-ones. So the mentors of the students get to share how they're doing so that we can best disciple them. And then we have our base meeting. So we go from a staff meeting, and then we take the students from where we live to where we do lectures. And then at base meeting, this is where we meet with the discipleship training school and with the rest of the base in New Zealand. And during these 3 things, we either do intercession for an hour, which is either praying for the nations or praying for different things on the people's on the people's hearts, as well as on Thursdays I have taught Bible overview. And so I've walked with the students throughout basically understanding the whole Bible. So this is the discipleship training school students. teaching them how to study the Word, teaching them what is in the Word, and giving them a comprehensive overview the best that I can over the 12 weeks that they're in the school. And then sometimes I do worship. I love to sing, but my main thing that I've done is through the cajon. And so kind of being on the worship team. And sometimes I do it and then they never ask me again, and I go, oh, I guess I just didn't have good rhythm that time. And then we go into lectures, and that's 3 hours of lectures. It's 3 hours of lectures from Monday through Friday. And then for me, Monday through Wednesday usually looks like grading the students' assignments. The students put so much effort and so much work into their assignments. Sometimes the students, we had one student on this last school, she's coming back to staff, but she was up till about 10:30 or 11 p.m. consistently. Most days of the week. So this is something we're walking with her on, both how to enjoy and get the most out of the studies, as well as learning how to manage her time so that she can sleep well. So, but in respecting the effort and the work that they're putting into the assignments, I also want to do my job in making sure that I'm grading the assignments well, and leaning them into that. So that's about 3 to 6 hours per student. And on this last school, I had 2 students that I was grading, and so that would be about Monday to Wednesday usually of grading them. And then sometimes I will be prepping meals for the base. So I'm terrible at cooking for one person, or even 2. I'm really bad at that. But if you ask me to cook food for like 60 to 70 people, I'm like really good. Like I know how to spice that food really well. I just need more occasions to cook for 60 to 70 people, show my skills, but don't ask me to cook for you. So that's kind of my day-to-day life, just kind of going, that's what my day-to-day life looks like. And if I'm able to get all these things done, I really enjoy getting to hang out with my friends. We live on a I think it's like a harbor. We live on a harbor, but there are beaches nearby, about 30 minutes. And so on the weekends, I like going to the beach with my friends and hanging out with them, or getting coffee and all sorts of different things. So I do get to hang out with people. I do get to enjoy my time, but the days can sometimes be really long. So I just wanted to share some pictures over the years. This is me talking to students of a primary school in Papua New Guinea on my discipleship training school. When we do outreaches, we do a lot of skits. And there was one skit where one guy acts like a gorilla in different forms and ways. And then for whatever reason, he's like doing CPR. And I was the guy he did CPR on. And so but he's a gorilla and he's acting crazy, so I would just get pummeled in front of like 50 Papua New Guinean kids. So it was I really enjoyed getting to do that, but it was not always my favorite skit. There were other skits like Jonah and stuff that I really enjoyed. So that's me in Papua New Guinea. This is another outreach team that I was on. This is an outreach that I led. There were 14 of us. We had 3 leaders. We were in Vanuatu for this. That's where this picture is. And so as you can see, there's a lot of young adults that we're walking with. And it was, where am I? I am behind the middle girl with the white dress, next to the blue shirt. Can you see me? Yeah, so that's me. There are other pictures of me that maybe. Fun fact, on this outreach, we booked all of our tickets with Vanuatu Air, and on this outreach, Vanuatu Air, about 2 weeks after we got there, they went bankrupt. So we lost all of our flights, and we didn't really know what to do, so we prayed about it, and we asked, okay, God, like, we're here, like, you're not surprised by the challenge that we're in. I mean, there's certain aspects for me in leadership where it's just so beyond what I can do that luckily sometimes I go, oh, this is an opportunity for God to move, because he has to. So there we were with no plane tickets and no way off the island, but we were able to get plane tickets to Fiji to finish out our outreach, and we were able to raise $14,000 New Zealand dollars in 7 days. So it was really, really fun to kind of see the students grow in their understanding of how the Lord moves and provides. And so it was a really educational opportunity for them as students and a really stressful opportunity for me as a leader. And then this picture in the middle is our team. We are partnering with the Youth with a Mission base out there, and they took, there was a pastor who said, hey, could you please come to our village and do outreaches here so that we could grow the church and grow the gospel in this village. And so we got the opportunity to, we took 10 boats out to this island, and we stayed in the village for a week, and it was really challenging. I did not know how to plan, going back to my administrative skills, so I gave I gave 9 girls an hour and a half to shower before our event. And I thought that was enough time, and that was not enough time, and we were late, which is on me because I didn't plan that well, because I'm still growing in my understanding of life. So, but it was a fun opportunity to learn and grow and go, oh, okay, maybe I can give more time and plan better for these sorts of things. So that was a lot of my experiences with the discipleship training schools. And this is our Bible core course that we did. My co-leader is on the far right, and you might go, oh, Chad has a really nice, cool pink sweatband, and that's true, I do. But we dress up like this because we want to get into the shoes of the people that we're studying about, and every Thursday, the students do a skit on Proverbs. And during this skit, they memorize a passage from Proverbs, and then they act it out, and then we have to guess which verse they're acting out. So sometimes they have not done the best job, and we didn't get to guess it, and other times they did really great. But this is just another way of them learning and embodying the word of the Lord. Yeah, so that's our skits. You have the 2 Germans behind me, and then the Canadians are in the pink and the bandana in the back. And so this is the house that we were staying in, and that's our little friends type photo that we took at the end of the school. Flo is just in front of me there. Flo is he's just leading an outreach to Mexico now, so that's really fun. He's been in Germany learning a lot, and now he's in Mexico for an outreach. And then Julie's in the middle. She is coming back to staff this next school in September. And then Caleb is in the blue jersey. He went back home to Canada. And then we have David, and David was my one-on-one. And I had a lot of fun getting to walk with him through the questions that he had. It was really interesting for me as a leader because I'm managing this house and I'm managing the conversations that they're having. And David, when he came in, he had a lot of questions that sounded less like a Christian's questions and a lot more like an atheist's questions. And so it was really interesting walking with him over the next couple of weeks and kind of going, hey, kind of pushing back on where's your heart with the Lord. And it was really fun to see Hebrews week when it talked about don't harden your hearts. That was the week that he studied, we did preaching, and so he did a sermon on that passage, and it was really cool to see how the Lord met him and be like, whoa, my heart was so hardened over these years. And so from after that point on, he was completely different, and his questions and his conversations were very, very different because of his own time in studying and going deep in the Word. But the Bible core course is really fun because you get to just dive deep into the Word, and it's really personal. Like, you all live in the same house, so you get to know people pretty quickly, and they were a really fun bunch. I'm really thankful for the opportunity I had to get to walk with them. So I want to talk a little bit more about what this next year looks like. So with the Bible core course, a lot of Bible core courses in New Zealand, around the world, they are usually just used as training. So it's 3 months, and then they go off and they do staffing or they continue on. But the reality is that a Bible core course or a Bible school can't really continue if it only exists for itself. And so as I've kind of stepped into leading the school, I've gone, okay, how do I create something that is actually sustainable beyond me? And so the hope is that it doesn't exist just for training, but it actually exists to see the nations, in both New Zealand and the nations, changed. So the 30 is a outreach initiative that our base has, and we are planning on reaching 30 cities over the next 5 years in New Zealand. And so for me, looking at our base's vision, I want to partner with them in what they want to do with the school and set up the foundations for the school, that we consistently partner with Bible teaching in these cities, and partnering with pastors and different things to facilitate workshops so that New Zealand can grow in their Bible literacy. And so that's one way that our Bible school is facilitating in New Zealand. And then we are going to do a staff outreach to Papua New Guinea in July. I'm looking at all the different options, but when I think about stories like William Tyndale and Martin Luther and other people who devoted their lives, or in many cases gave their lives to translating the Bible, I think about the opportunities for Bible translation that we have now, and the conviction that they had to see the Bible translated and impacting lives, and in many reasons that's why we have the Bible today. And so sometimes I go, man, like my Bible exists because people gave their lives for it to exist, and so it helps me really value the Bible a lot more, because people gave their lives for it. And so I want to part of that makes me curious of what did they see in the Bible that I don't, and so I want to dive deeper into that. But another part of it is realizing that some people only have sections or parts of the Bible, and they cherish it and they read it constantly over and over and over again because that's all they have, and that's the word of the Lord. And so for me, I'm going, man, these people cherish tiny little slivers and sections of the Bible, and I have the whole Bible and all these study resources available to me to dive into the Word. And so the hope with Papua New Guinea is that Youth with a Mission has been in Papua New Guinea for a couple decades, and one of their recent initiatives is doing oral Bible translation. So the hope is that our Bible school can set up a foundation to go to Papua New Guinea and help with oral Bible translation as a consistent theme and project to see that happen. And so that will this July, so I'll get back to New Zealand in a couple weeks, and then I'll go to Papua New Guinea with just us staff team, and I'll be there for the hope is to be there for 4 weeks, and kind of figure out what does it look like for us to help for our school to set up the foundations for consistently sending people there to help with their Bible translation. I don't think we'll be able to do any sort of Bible translation ourselves, but we want to see that furthered, and there's a lot of things that we can do as a Bible school to actually see that happen. So those are the current initiatives, and then the Bible core course is going to be running in September, and so I'm really excited. We have 3 staff, and I've been doing a lot of work ever since the last one finished to make sure that this next one is the best that it can be. And so over this next year, there's a couple different things and initiatives that I'm kind of fundraising toward to make sure that I can do what I do and do it sustainably. And so one of this is monthly support. You may have noticed yourself that over the last couple of years, things have started to get a little bit more expensive, and the same is in New Zealand. And so raising that monthly support is something that I'm really hoping to do, and I'm working toward to be able to make missions work in New Zealand a bit more sustainable, so that it's something that I can finish out well, and I can succeed in doing that, and I can just focus on the Bible core course rather than trying to raise more funds. As well as there are a lot of flights like back to New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, as well as there's visas to Papua New Guinea and visas to New Zealand, and things that I'm fundraising for that I will need to do in order to do the work that I'm doing. And so your help and support in that is something that I'd really appreciate, as well as a car. It's interesting when I come back to California, everybody lives at least 30 minutes away from me, and so I definitely need a car. I was thinking about when I was coming to California, I was going, I'm here for 2 months, and I didn't have access to a car. So I went, okay, I'll see if there's the bus transportation, see if that works. And so I Googled it from where I live, and it said, okay, your first step on maps. It said your first step is to drive to the bus stop. And I went, okay, well, maybe that's not going to work. So the Lord miraculously provided a car through my cousin giving my brother a car to help me borrow that car. So it was really, really cool. I'm really thankful for that. But in New Zealand, I haven't had a car for the last couple of years. And this has meant that I needed to borrow our base car, which is about 50 cents a kilometer, which means that I have to be very intentional about the places that I go to and all the sorts of things like that. And so having a car in New Zealand is something that would be really, really helpful for me to continue, because I would also like to start renting my own space with a coworker of mine in New Zealand. This would allow me to host and do better mentoring, as well as I'm 25 now, and my coworkers and and the students are about on average age 19, and every year I keep getting older, but they don't. And so I love getting to walk with them and disciple them, and I think that would be really well done. But you guys know how it is living with teenagers. That's not always the most exciting thing. So that's something that I'm hoping to fundraise for with monthly support and different things is going towards having another space that I can then invite people into and host them and kind of make life in New Zealand a bit more sustainable for where I'm at in my life. And so those are the different things that I'm working for, and there are cards on your table if you'd like, with QR codes if you're curious of what supporting me would look like. So that's the rundown of my missions work. That's where I've been, what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, and I'm really, really thankful for you guys. I'm really thankful for you guys listening and for being invested in my life and what I do. And I'd be really curious if there are things in your guys' head as you're thinking about what I do, and if there's any way that I can answer your questions. Yeah, Kendall.
Did you say what it was?
Yeah, the 30 is an initiative. So the 30 stands for 30 cities. So I live in the most kind of isolated part of New Zealand. I live 3 hours north of Auckland, and there's a bunch of small cities that don't really get seen either by the government or really by anyone. And so there's a lot of poverty. The city that I live in has the highest meth usage, teen pregnancy, and drug usage, and gang rates in New Zealand. So that's the city that I live in, and that's kind of the capital of the region where I live. And there are 30 other cities that our base is hoping to reach in the next 5 years with the gospel and practical help and mercy ministries and evangelism. So the Bible Core Course will be partnering with that by providing Bible teaching if possible. Yeah, Bob?
You had mentioned that you were, in a sense, looking for students. And the students are part of the YWAM program, right?
Mm-hmm.
They come from that.
Yeah.
First of all, is there a volunteer aspect to that? Or is there just kind of a natural progression, and that they would, be part of your student population, or at least possible? So you had 4 students.
Mm-hmm.
They're gone now, right?
Yeah.
They graduated, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
someplace. And you're looking for students presently, are you not?
Yeah. We're currently marketing and looking for more students. We originally were planning on doing the Bible Core Course in July, but then our website went down and we weren't able to receive any applications, and we were having a lot of complications with timing, because we had planned it for July so that our current discipleship training school could move into the Bible Core Course next, because the Bible Core Course is a secondary school, so you would need to do a discipleship training school first. But the reality is a lot of those students were saying, oh, well, that's too soon. And so seeing that we didn't have any students at the time, and seeing that we were in a space where we weren't able to get any more because of the website, we decided to move it back to September, and that would facilitate for more students to come. So that is something that we are investing in and looking for is more students, yeah.
So there is an application system.
Yeah, there's
some established qualifications within their own journey and where they are.
Yeah, there's if I understand you correctly, there is an application process. And sometimes on this last school, we had to turn away a student just because of visa reasons. They were from South Africa, and it's really challenging to get a visa to New Zealand from South Africa, as well as having done a discipleship training school. So if they've done a discipleship training school, then they qualify for the Bible school. So we have had some people reach out and say, hey, you know, I'd love to do the Bible school. And we say, okay, well, if you haven't done your discipleship training school, we'd suggest that, or they can volunteer at our base if they haven't done either. But there's a specific requirement for them doing the Bible school. Yeah.
So at the beginning of your journey, this path you're on, you had a couple of questions, right? That I'm trying to remember exactly what they were. How do I hear from God? And what was your other one?
And how do I obey Him?
And did they get answered, or is that still in process, or how's it going with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like over the last 4 years, I have really learned how to love the Word. And I've learned how to dive into it and study it, and I think that there are a lot of times over the last 4 years where I felt like I've heard the Lord really clearly, and there have been a lot of times where I've had to discern and make decisions in ways that I wasn't always entirely sure what He has said, but I also think that He's given me a lot of freedom to make decisions in that sense. But where He is clear, I really want to be obedient to that. And so the discipleship training school was a really helpful foundational process for that for me, and understanding how to use discernment and hear His voice. And in that, be obedient to both what the Word says and what I believe that the Holy Spirit is giving me personal convictions about. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to do some discipleship, in the area? Like when you're at the beach, is there an intention to meet people, have conversations?
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah. I kind of see my job as seeing the person in front of me. I travel a really long way, and I give up a lot to be in front of people. And so whoever is in front of me is, my hope is that they feel seen by me. And so when I'm in the grocery store and kind of in my rhythms and different things, I've had a lot of opportunities to talk with people and do evangelism. We also have kind of set times throughout our week where we go out and we do evangelism. So I've been really thankful. I feel like over the last couple of years, people in New Zealand have become a lot more softened to the gospel. People in New Zealand have largely been pretty hardened to it. They feel like, oh, like my life is good enough. What else do I need? And then they're very like tolerant, but they're not very. Their souls are not very satisfied. And so I've started to see people be more and more hungry over the last couple of years, and have different reactions from people as I share the gospel. There's this one lady from Brazil. She was in her 40s, and I would consistently visit her coffee shop and ask her questions, and we started to develop a relationship, and she knew what I did and all that sort of things, and it was really fun to get to kind of share the gospel with her in that sense. My dad loves to share the gospel, and he's really good at sharing the gospel, and the Lord is really good at sending people his way to share the gospel, but I don't have that same success. I'm a lot more of a consistency person and developing relationship, and so there's a lot of people who still text me several years later and talk to me or ask me questions and things. Yeah, so my hope wherever I'm at is that I can be interruptible, and there are times when in my head I do have just my own agenda and I'm going, but my hope is that when I'm in the city I can have opportunities to share the gospel and just see the person in front of me, and I've been really blessed to be able to have those opportunities, and it's probably fair that the more that I look for them, the more that I find them. The harvest is ready and the workers are few. So, yeah.
I would think that's part of that element of you and your personality. It's course, knowing your family and evangelism and all of that, I can see you being very good in success, reach people, through your personality, your knowledge, and you're a likable young man.
Thank you.
Chad.
Yeah, Nancy and then Peggy.
Your dad definitely had the gift of evangelism. And I remember, I think it was one of your siblings, I don't think it was you, but one of your siblings said at Mom's memorial service that there were probably at least 1,000 women who considered your mom to be their best friend. Who said it? I think you said it.
I didn't say 1,000, but yeah.
I'm going to play the, I'm going to rewind the video. Anyway, it was some huge number. And there were just a lot of people, and I was one of them because your mom had that gift of helping people feel seen, right? And so you've got that combination of, the passion for the evangelism and then also this desire for people to feel seen by you. And so you got this incredible winning combination. Oh, now I get all weepy, but I just want you to know I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. That is very, very sweet. Thank you. It means a lot. Yeah. Peggy?
I hope I'm not repeating something that was said earlier. I did have to step out, but I was excited when I first learned of you being in New Zealand because we spent quite a bit of time over there, and I believe they're called the Maori people. And do you have any specific outreach to the Maori people, or when you're talking about the community around you, is it a mix of Maori and what we would call standard New Zealanders?
Yeah. So there's a couple different terms. On average, you would kind of more so say that a non-Maori person in New Zealand is a Kiwi. And Maori people can be Kiwis too, but it would largely be someone who's not Maori is a Kiwi. And missionaries have a pretty big history in New Zealand. We were there when when kind of the nation started to exist. We were the ones who translated the treaty that made them a nation. And so some people love missionaries. Some Maori love missionaries because of the opportunities that we had and coming alongside them and helping them in that way. But there's been a lot of challenges because when the treaty, so the New Zealand was they weren't conquered. They were never conquered. They became a nation through a treaty to the United Kingdom, recognizing them as a nation because traders would come to New Zealand and they would do all sorts of things. You've been on a boat and you've been traveling all around. It's kind of like the same for the island of Crete. If you read Titus, Paul says, one of their poets says they're lazy and drunkards and gluttons and all this stuff, and he's right. That's what Paul says in Titus, and that's very common of trading and shipping kind of culture. So they would come to New Zealand and they would cause a lot of chaos and havoc in the nation. And so the Maori people went, well, we got to have some order here. And so that started the process of the United Kingdom recognizing them as a nation so that the United Kingdom could then actually enforce laws and bring order to the chaos there in New Zealand. So why am I saying all of this? It's because for our base, we recognize that when the missionaries translated it, they only had 24 hours to translate it. It was rushed. It was very, very quick. So when they were translating it, they had to make decisions to translate it in a way that would make sense in their cultural context, because you have these two different cultures approaching each other and trying to understand each other. And so they translated words that have been taken out of context or sort of different things, and there's been a lot of hurt and a lot of racism and a lot of institutionalized poverty in New Zealand, where I live, because of the way that the treaty went about. So there's a lot of people who are really angry at missionaries. So I've made it one of my jobs to understand more about the history. And when we have students come and are training to be missionaries, we teach them. We go to where the treaty was signed, and we walk with them through the history of New Zealand and how the missionaries affected them, so that they can understand the cultural context behind the word missionary to the Maori people. So we care a lot about our students and us understanding that, as well as when we go out and we do evangelism on Mondays. Whangarei is where I live. There's a lot of Maori people, and we have a community dinner. So we make burgers, and it's open to the general public. Anyone can come and get a burger, or 2 or 3 or 4. And it is really interesting, because when we first started it was like our community plus like maybe 2 people. But now we've probably gotten to about 30 to 40 Maori people, and people from the community coming to our community nights to eat. So it's been fun. As we've grown our evangelism, we've started to understand more of how we can actually reach the Maori people in their context, and understand them and their worldviews and things. Because I love being an American, but they don't care so much about me being an American as they care about me understanding them. And so the fact that I've come there and I've learned a lot more about their culture, and I know various Maori words. I couldn't speak the language or anything like that, but I know enough that that it has been impactful in conversation with them, because they realize, okay, this person actually cares to understand me and my culture. And so that's how we meet them where they're at in that circumstance. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yeah, Mike?
You kind of answered the question I was going to ask a few minutes ago. Maybe I'll ask you to say just a little more. My question is, how do you and the students feel you're welcomed by the community? You described the community a bit, but is there a comfort level with them and with you guys to associate, like on hamburger night now? So forth?
Yeah, how does the community receive us? Really excitedly. If you talk about community as what do you define as community? But I think people are they're really intrigued by us, because there's a lot of things that we do that are very different, or maybe countercultural to the way that they do things, while also being incredibly generous and incredibly kind and welcoming and hospitable. And so it creates an opportunity for them to be curious unto the gospel, curious unto, wow, when I'm hanging out with these people, I'm welcomed and I'm greeted and I'm safe. What makes these random teenagers from all different countries, what makes them kind and different? And so we, from the general community, we are very welcomed, and we get a lot of opportunities to do all sorts of different community work as well, working in gardens and helping people out on their properties, as well as by the government, the city council. We're actually very welcomed by them. One of the people there is responsible for youth outreach, and there's a walkway all the way through the city, and they have said, hey, there are teens who hang out on the walkway and harass people, and they have said, hey, would you mind having your community walk alongside that pathway and share the gospel with these teens, because either they'll receive Christ or they'll leave. So it's a win-win. And so we've been given these opportunities in the high schools and different things to share the gospel by the community, as well as one time we went to the hospital to just pray outside of it, and the doctor said, oh, are you guys praying? Would you want to come in and pray with our staff? And so we've had opportunities to pray with the staff and to go through the hospital and pray and different things like that. So we have found incredible favor from the community.
That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of times evangelism is sometimes even more who you are than what you say.
Yeah. Yeah.
They see you and you're different, and they like it.
Yeah. It's really awesome to get to see the consistency that we put in relationship, met with our kindness and willingness to learn, creating a lot of opportunities for the gospel to be shared in a way that can be received and understood, and kind of how people go into discipleship in churches and things. Because I love doing evangelism. I love it when someone is able to be saved through sharing the gospel and through evangelism, but I also really care about discipleship, and so we do our best to connect people to churches and things so they can be more discipled after their salvation. We don't want to leave them just by themselves.
So everyone speaks English there too, besides their dialect?
Yeah, everyone in New Zealand speaks English, and most of the people that I'm with don't. Most of the people in Youth with a Mission, I would say half of them probably speak 3 languages, and then the other half, English is their second language, and so I've learned how to understand a lot of different approaches to English. But in New Zealand, yeah, pretty much everyone speaks English, so it's a lot simpler. It makes evangelism a lot easy, especially since New Zealand is kind of trending towards being New Age and Buddhism and different things. So it allows us opportunities to just share the gospel instead of having to learn a whole new language. Yeah.
I have another question. How many people are at the DTS on that base?
Yeah, so our average size for a discipleship training school is about 24 students, and we have about 35 people on staff. Yeah.
So your staff meeting isn't just you and the other girl that run the Bible course, but it's all that staff?
On Thursday mornings, we meet as a base team, but we meet in our houses as staff. So when I've met at staff meetings, it has been me and that girl, and then the other staff who live in that house, who aren't a part of the Bible core course. So that was about 4 people. Yeah, Michaela?
If there's not more questions, I'm wondering if we could just pray for you. We could lay hands on you and pray for you to conclude the event.
Yeah.
Unless you had other things planned.
No, I'd love that. Yeah.
Lord, thank you so much for the work that you have done in Chad's life. Thank you for the way that you have been leading him and guiding him each step of this way, of the way. Thank you for the impact that he is having in New Zealand and also in the lives of young people that he's discipling. Thank you for the way that his heart has grown in love with Scripture. Thank you, God, for your gift of Scripture to us. God, thank you so much for all the ways that you've been providing for Chad's mission. Thank you for every person here who has been part of that journey with Chad in the last year or several years, Lord. We thank you right now for all the ways that you are going to be providing for this next chapter in his life. We just pray all of your best for Chad in this next season. We thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.